So this morning we talked about a story with Microsoft having maybe a bit of a turnaround in Japan, certainly from last generation with the Xbox One to the Xbox Series, as the latest sales charts in Famitsu show something that hasn't been done with Microsoft since the Xbox One released, and that's outsell the PlayStation in Japan. I wanted to go over that a little bit here. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave Plus channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Let's head over here to Famitsu. These are the sales charts that had been released showing the Switch Lite, the Nintendo Switch, that being the OLED model, all topping the chart. This is very much expected. The Switch dominates Japan. That's not even a question anymore. Even 5-6 years in, doesn't matter. It's selling tens of thousands of units all over the place. The PS5 digital there, roughly, what's that, 2,700 units or so. But below that, we see the Series X and the Series S. The Series S selling significantly more than the Series X. And I think that's mostly stock, and that's one of the reasons the Series outsold the PlayStation 5 in general. Putting this in perspective, I'm sure if the PS5 had enough systems, it would have sold 15, 20, 25,000 units like it has in several weeks prior to this. But the Series X and the Series S combining for 6,225 units is pretty good for Microsoft, considering what they did last generation with the Xbox One. Let me show you actually right here. This is an article that was posted up back in March. And what they did here with gamesindustry.biz was look back on the sales history of the Xbox platform. In fact, it's titled Xbox has sold 2.3 million consoles in Japan over 20 years. This was in a report from Famitsu, who of course tracks these sales and has been doing it since the original Xbox. But think about that for a second. The Switch is coming up on 25 million units sold in Japan. The Xbox has sold 2.3 million units over 20 years. So when we say that Japan is just dominated by Nintendo with their systems, I mean, you can see the comparison there. But something I want to take a look at here is mostly just Xbox themselves in Japan. And they did group them up here by generation with Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and now the Xbox Series. Keep in mind, this was right at the beginning of March, the first week. So the units now with the Xbox Series, right a little over 200,000, like 205,000 units between the Series S and the Series X. But compared to the original Xbox at 474,000, the Xbox 360, which was clear and away the most successful Xbox platform in Japan, 1.6 million units. But then you go to the Xbox One, 114,000. That's it. I mean, the Xbox Series has nearly doubled that already, which is pretty impressive coming out of that generation into the Xbox Series. Microsoft basically reset themselves back to zero as a brand with that Xbox One. And I mean, they were on an upswing from the Xbox to the Xbox 360, and they made a serious effort with the Xbox 360 to try to appeal to that audience in Japan. Think about a lot of the games back then where Microsoft had like Blue Dragon, Infinite Undiscovery, Lost Odyssey. They even got like a full Tales game with Tales of Vesperia that was exclusive to the Xbox 360. So they're making a pretty serious push there, and it shows when you have the sales comparisons here. Now, I am curious when it comes to the Xbox Series, specifically if you live in Japan, has there been a change in how the Xbox brand is viewed now with this newer generation? Whether it's the Xbox Series S coming in at $300. I mean, that's obviously cheaper than what we see with like the PlayStation 5, even the digital version, but it's right around what the Switch is. And like I said, we see the Switch sell constantly. But when I look at the top 5 best-selling titles that they have marked here for Xbox, it's like Dead or Alive 3. So I'm curious if there is anything with the Xbox, maybe brand-wise, and I mean maybe a third-party games to pair with it, that is making it more successful than the Xbox One. Because we were to a point where the Xbox One was being sold as a Blu-ray player. People were taking pictures. This is from Gaijin Hunter. The Xbox One S as an Ultra HD Blu-ray player, which it had that over the PlayStation 4 because the PlayStation 4 was not able to play like UHD Blu-rays. But that's what they were doing to try to move this thing, because 114,000 units over the course of it launched in 2014 in Japan. So over the course of 6 or 7 years, that's where they were in 2017. Oh, it's not an Xbox. It's a UHD Blu-ray player. But based on the numbers, I mean, the Xbox Series is having a pretty serious turnaround in Japan when it comes to the Xbox brand. I mean, I guess it couldn't really go much lower than the Xbox One, but they did a full global launch with the Series, so it did launch in Japan at the same time as other parts of the world, which the Xbox One came out about a year after it released in the US, so they are at least trying, it looks like. And I mean, if they can get any kind of improvement, which they already have in Japan, they'll probably consider that a success. I am curious if it's able to reach, say, the original Xbox, come up on 500,000 units sold there in Japan. I think it's going to come down to if Microsoft does indeed continue to push towards like third-party JRPGs. They did like marketing for Scarlet Nexus as an example. More of that kind of stuff. Getting games into Game Pass for Japanese developers. Like, I mean, Dragon Quest XI's went into Game Pass day one. So if they continue that push, continue to get these kind of games into Game Pass and do more marketing with them, I mean, sure, it probably will reach the original Xbox. I don't know if the 360 is on the table, though. 1.6 million units sold that's pretty high for an Xbox, obviously, when you look at it compared to other generations. But who knows what this generation has in store for us, as we're still trying to have this generation get started in the first place with these stock issues. But let me know what you guys think about this one down below, especially if you live in Japan or are very familiar with this market. What's going on with Xbox right now? Because clearly it's doing better than the Xbox One. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.